The playoffs are here. I cannot believe it's finally here. We're looking forward to it. Welcome to the Gadsden Times Kickoff Show. I'm Teddy Couch. This is Kevin Taylor. And we got 5 county teams alive still.
That's right, Teddy. And welcome to the second season, everybody. It is now, everybody is 0-0. Throw out all the records, throw out everything that's been done so far in 11 weeks. It's now, everybody's even who have qualified for the playoffs. And now you're looking to go 5-0 in order to pick up that big blue trophy. So just looking ahead to this week, we've, like I said, Teddy said, 5 teams from Etowah County in the first round of the playoffs. Etowah is hosting Guntersville. Coosa Christian goes to Donahoe. Westbrook Christian is on the road at Collinsville. Hoax Bluff is at home in the first round. And I'm drawing a blank who they're hosting first round.
Hoax Bluff has Central Florence.
That's right. And then Southside hosts Brewer. So, you know, all 5 of those very winnable games for the teams out of Etowah County. And to be quite honest, I have picked all 5 in my picks to advance to the second round.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, absolutely. So this should be an interesting week. You know, you're going to see a lot of teams with some really nice records come in and start in the first round of the playoffs, and they're going to be early exits, and that's just the way the playoffs go. You're going to see a 4 seed knock off a 1 seed. You're going to see some regions really show their mettle in terms of how strong their region was in the state, and so it should be a fun next 5 weeks.
Yeah, and we have some. Also have 10 other area teams that are in as well. We have Aberville traveling to Pinson Valley, Gardendale traveling to Fort Payne, Boaz will be heading to East Limestone, Alexandria heading to Madison Academy, Piedmont will be hosting Clements, Plainview will be traveling to Fultondale, Geraldine will be hosting Holly Pond, Cedar Bluff will be traveling to Ohatchee, Fife will be hosting Cleveland, and Spring Garden will welcome Decatur Heritage. And
I can see the possibility of at least 3 state champions out of that entire list right there. I think really if you want to look at one that may be quite obvious, I think you have to look a little bit further north of Etowah County and look at Fife. The Red Devils are 10-0, and they're playing really well right now. Peyton Anderson, their star running back, is a beast, and Fife is just Fife. They're playing good, solid football. They don't do anything real fancy, and it's just up to their opponent to try to stop them. And so far this season, nobody's been able to stop Fife. And I really don't see Cleveland doing that to Fife in the first round of the Class 2A playoffs.
And the thing about Fife too that's interesting is not only they're the favorites to come out of the North as they are each year, but their path to get there to me is not that difficult. I mean, they have a possible matchup with Ohatchee in that quarterfinals, and that's one a lot of people will be looking forward to.
Right.
But I mean, it's very manageable for Fife to make it to Auburn with relative ease, in my opinion.
Yeah, you know, Fife, if they take care of business Friday night, they very likely will play Colbert County. That may be a road game because Colbert County is the 3 seed, and they play 5-4 Tarrant this Friday night. I could see Colbert County knocking off Tarrant and then Fife having to go on the road. That may be the only time that Fife goes on the road. But you know, the path to Auburn, you know, it looks pretty manageable. You know, you've got some other teams out there. You've got an Ohatchee out there, 9-0. You've got Addison, you know, Region 7 winner. They're 8-2. They're a real good football team. Aliceville traditionally has been a very good team, solid coming out of Region 5. And then you never know. You've got the Cinderellas out there. You know, at the bottom of the bracket, you've got Collinsville, you know, this Friday night, 9-1, hosting Westbrook Christian. And like I said, I look for Collinsville to fall to Westbrook Christian. I think that Westbrook is just they're just a little bit better than Collinsville. Collinsville just really hasn't been kind of a staple in terms of the playoffs. And having been there, or having a solid coaching staff who has been there in the playoffs, is going to pay dividends. And I think that's going to pay dividends this Friday night for Westbrook.
I'm going to have to be the bad guy here. I went with Collinsville to win this game. I think it's going to be a good one. I would not be shocked either way. Collinsville's only giving up 11.3 points a game, and they've played some pretty tough opponents. I mean, the last 3 weeks, hasn't been as tough, but they haven't given a point in the last 3 weeks, 4 of their last 5 games. Their defense is really they're playing very well right now, and I'm going to kind of go with them. I mean, I think Westbrook, obviously they're playing good football too, so I'm looking for a very good football game, in my opinion. But I have Collinsville come out on top in that one.
Collinsville's only loss was to Fife, and they lost to them 54-24. That may have been the most points that Fife has given up in a game this season. But I just something just tells me that Westbrook, they're a type of football team that they don't make very many mistakes. So in this time of the year, the teams that make the fewest mistakes are the ones that end up advancing. And that's why I really have a feeling that we're going to see Westbrook in the second round.
Thank you for joining us, Julie and Elizabeth. And Patrick says Roll Tide. I kind of look at Fife as the Alabama of 2A for sure.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, they just keep rolling and rolling and rolling. So looking at Class 1A, you've got Coosa Christian going to Donahoe. I've said this for the last 3 weeks. We've known who Coosa Christian is going to play. Coosa Christian 7-3 versus 8-2 Donahoe. I think Coosa Christian just has way too many playmakers on their team that I don't think that Donahoe will be able to match up against. And when you've got Caden Lipscomb, who is playing really good football right now in terms of throwing the ball, and he gets it to Delp, to Evan Delp, and then also you've got Dartavius Britton, who comes out of the backfield, and of course Dartavius is toting the mail big time for the Conquerors, and I think he's got well over 1,000 yards so far this season rushing. This guy is not a huge guy, but pound for pound, I would have to say he's probably the best back in Northeast Alabama.
This one was very tough for me. I don't know for you, but in terms of the 5 county teams, this one was the hardest one to pick. I've kind of been going back and forth on it. Donahoe's defense is playing very well this season, but the big difference for me, I went with Coosa, and the reason why is because Donahoe's opponents' records combined is 43-66. I mean, that's kind of a big thing. And Coosa's, I want to say there's a 62-58. And then, as you said, that offensive firepower that they have, they're able to put points up, whether it's running, attacking through the air. They just have so many different dynamics they can, use offensively, and I think that could be the difference. But Donahoe's got a good defense, so it's going to be that's the key to see how they do. But I talked to Coach Devendra Woods earlier in the week, and he said, that's a big thing for him, but also his defense. He's wanting to see, it's kind of a focus they put on this week is, how Coosa plays on the defense side of the ball this week as well. So I'm interested in that matchup. That's where I'll be Friday night, and I'm looking forward to seeing the Conquerors.
I'm going to throw out a not so fast, my friend, on you there, Teddy, because here's one statistic you need to consider, and that is Donahoe's lack of success in the first round of the playoffs. They have gone a number of years without even being able to advance to the next round. Now, mind you, Coosa Christian has not either, but I just feel like this is probably one of the better Coosa Christian teams that we've seen in a number of years, even going as far back as when they were competing in the Christian Football League. So I really like Coosa Christian to come out on top. I think it may be a close game. I think it'll be a 4-point game, but I just think that Coosa has way too many weapons for Donahoe to try to defend, and that's going to be the difference.
And there's not a kid on Coosa's Christian's football team that has been part of a winning season before this year. You know, they're changing things over there. This would be their first win since joining the AHSA in 2005, I believe, is when they joined.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you can that would be just a huge win for that program, and I think they're able to pull it out. But you know, last year when they played Donahoe, I want to say Coosa was not. I want to say Donahoe pulled it like 56-7.
Yeah.
This is a different Coosa team. They're changing the culture over there, and I think they're going to pull out the win for Friday night.
Yeah. You know, Patrick is talking about Lynette in 1A to win 1A. Lynette, if I'm not mistaken, won 2A last year, and they dropped down. I'd have to agree with you, Patrick. I think that Lynette is the team to beat in Class 1A. They'll come out of the South region. Their path to Auburn is going to be much more difficult than the North Region champion, because I mean you're looking at some long time teams that have just played really well. Your Lindens, your Maplesvilles, your Sweetwaters. I mean, what a tremendous first round matchup just looking in the South is going to be Friday night when Maplesville hosts Sweetwater. Typically those two teams in years past have never seen each other until maybe the semifinals or the quarterfinals, and they're going to end up playing right out of the gate first round. And so you know, there again, I think Lynette, their road is a tough road, but should they get to Auburn, I think that they are the odds-on favorite to win Class 1A.
Philip chimes in and says, "Go Coosa." As we just talked about them, you know, we both have them winning Friday night at Donahoe. And one thing, too, I want to mention about Coosa before we move on, they've kind of impressed me in multiple ways. It seems like, you know, they're able to win shootouts. They've won some low-scoring games this season. They also won in overtime last week.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are battle-tested, and they not only won, they've won in different ways. And I think that's key heading into the postseason.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, the hot teams right now, that tends to have the momentum going into that second season, into the playoffs, and I think that Coosa's kind of got that momentum rolling with them. You know, another team that'll be playing in Class 1A playoffs, we've got Spring Garden against Decatur Heritage. We all know about Decatur Heritage because they're in Coosa's region. Spring Garden hosts Decatur Heritage in the first round, and I'd look for Spring Garden to win that game and move on to the second round. You know, you could see Coosa and say Decatur Heritage or even Falkville. Falkville was the region champion. They're undefeated, one of a few undefeated teams in Class 1A alive. You know, Falkville may be the team to beat, come out of the North region in terms of going to Auburn, but still, you know, crazy things can happen between now and then. Class 2A. You got to look at Ohatchee. They're hosting Cedar Bluff. Ohatchee 9-0. They have a possible quarterfinal date with Fife in a couple weeks. So you know, we'll see how far Ohatchee or even Cedar Bluff can go in terms of the playoffs. You know, there again, I'm still feel like Westbrook is going to be your winner Friday night over Collinsville. Should they win, I would imagine they're going to play Aliceville, and if that ends up happening, I think that's going to be a home game for Westbrook, because Westbrook will have traveled and Aliceville will have hosted in the first round. And if I'm not mistaken, and I know I'm old, but
he is old. I can confirm that for sure.
But if memory serves me right, the team that travels the farthest will host. So I think that you're looking at a possible home game for Westbrook in the second round. Class 3A, you've got a number of our area teams alive. You've got Susan Moore hosting J.B. Pennington in the first round, Geraldine hosting Holly Pond, and then you've got Fultondale hosting Plainview. You know, there again, you've got some pretty good teams there in the North region. Yes, I know I haven't brought up Piedmont, 8-2. You know, they're going to be a major player in terms of winning the North region, But then the South is just really, really strong when you've got Winfield 10-0. You've got St. James 9-1. You've got Thomasville sitting there at 8-2. And then, you know, Gordo 8-2. Gordo's traditionally been a big player in terms of the playoffs, and then of course Mobile Christian at 8-1. So, you know, looking at 3A, you know, I see Piedmont winning their first round matchup against Clements. Susan Moore, they should beat J.B. Pennington in the first round. I look for Geraldine to knock off Holly Pond. I think you like Holly Pond in that first round, do you not?
That's one I was looking at that kind of interested me, but I didn't pull the trigger on that one. I stuck with Geraldine there.
And I'm liking Fultondale over Plainview. So, and then of course you got Sachs on the road as well at Colbert Heights.
I don't want to be Colbert Heights right now.
No, I don't either. You know, Sachs, that's going to be an angry football team. They're still stinging from their one loss, and you know, it really sets up an interesting second round matchup, quite possibly Fultondale versus Sachs in that second round. And yeah, Sachs is one of those teams where you really got to watch out for. You could see Sachs and Piedmont quite possibly match up there in the semifinals. So
just imagine, you know, fighting all season and, you know, earning a home playoff game. You're all excited. Then you check out the brackets, and then oh, we got Sachs coming to town.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about it for the last few weeks now. He's either going to be Piedmont, Randolph County, or Sachs on the road, and I didn't want to be that team that was having to host one of those three.
Exactly. Yeah.
And man, that's tough. That just goes to show how good that region is. And then also Weaver, the 4 seed, traveling to Westminster Christian. They're undefeated, but the thing about them is the last 2 years they've knocked off a top seed in the first round.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be shocked to see Weaver do that again.
I wouldn't either. I could see Weaver knocking off Westminster in that first round Friday night and not be surprised at all. Class 4A, you've got Hoax Bluff 9-1 hosting Central Florence. Their road in terms of making it to Auburn is pretty tough. You know, the very next round they very well possibly could host or play North Jackson, whether that be hosting or on the road. I have a feeling if Hoax Bluff and North Jackson win, you're going to see Hoax Bluff go to North Jackson. And North Jackson has just done nothing but just roll up points all year long. I think they're averaging well over 50 some odd points a game. So the 4A North might be stronger than 4A South.
You know, that's why it made that Jacksonville Hoax Bluff game so big, because, you know, just kind of looking at this, whoever won that game kind of had a better, you know, seeding, I guess, not obviously seeding, but I guess position in the playoffs rather.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're starting out with Rogers, who's been tough, but that's the 4th seed out of that region. You know, the winner of that will get St. John Paul II or Good Hope. You know, that's kind of better position than what Hoax Bluff's sitting in. But when you have Darian Meads out in the backfield, though, I think he's over 2,100 yards now, like 27 touchdowns. You're going to have a chance to beat just about anybody in the state. So,
I
you know,
agree.
it's tougher path. But, I mean, at this point, once you reach the playoffs, especially once you get the second round on, you're playing nothing but good teams anyways.
I think should Hoax Bluff and North Jackson play in the second round, I think the winner of that game you'll see in Auburn. I'm just going to go ahead and call it right now. I think the winner of that game goes to Auburn, straight up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I've said it the last couple of weeks since Jacksonville beat Hoax Bluff. Fingers crossed. I want those two to meet again in the semifinals. How much fun would that be?
That would be great. So let's move on to Class 5A. The only undefeated team in Class 5A is from right here in this area, Etowah. They're going to host 3-7 Gunnersville in the first round Friday night, and then they're staring down a possible second round matchup with Russellville. You know, then you also got to look at Southside. They are hosting Brewer. Southside 6-4, 8-2. You would think that a 6-4 team would not be favored in the first round of the playoffs, but you know, here, Southside, without a doubt, probably one of the hottest teams in Northeast Alabama right now.
Brewer last made the playoffs in 1999. I think they've made the playoffs 4. This is their 5th time, I believe. They have not won a playoff game yet.
Yeah.
Haven't even been close. I think they've been outscored like something 130-7, something like that. But I have Southside winning this too. I mean, they're just on fire right now. I can't remember exactly. I think they're averaging around 45 points a game in their last 5, which they've won. Been key to them making the playoffs. It was very impressive with them last week. They knew who they were playing. They knew they had Brewer at home. They still had to go to Cherokee County last week in a game. If they win, that keeps the momentum going. But if they lose, it doesn't hurt them at all. But they stayed focused on the task at hand. They took care of business at center. That shows how focused this team is. And so I think Southside takes care of business against Brewer too.
Another area team out of the Region 6 area is Boaz, who finished number 3. They're going to be on the road at East Limestone. East Limestone 8-2, Boaz 7-3. That's kind of a toss-up. I'm going to have to give the edge to the home team in that one. I think that East Limestone might just edge out Boaz, but then I don't know whether East Limestone has seen a running back quite like Christian Collins before, so we'll see. But in terms of our area, I really like Etowah to cruise. I like Southside over Brewer. I'm going to have to go with East Limestone over Boaz. And then, some of the other teams, I would not be surprised, Teddy, and I've said this before, I would not be surprised if Alexandria knocks off Madison Academy in the first round.
They've known for a while that's who they've had, so they've had plenty of time to prepare. I think they'll give them a tough game at least for a little while. I have Madison Academy come out on top, but Alexandria for sure could give them a tough game.
Class 5A, the top looks like it's Etowah's to win, to end up in Auburn, but the South, my God, I mean, you've got a number of teams out there that you could very well see in Auburn. Ramsey 9-1. You've also got Vigard 9-1. There's a few others that I see here. Demopolis 8-2, and then Greenville at 8-2. So, and then of course Briarwood Christian 8-2. So there's a number of teams there in that South bracket. I couldn't call it right now as far as who I would think will be in Auburn from the South, but I think right now it seems like Etowah is the odds-on favorite to come out of the North. So we'll see. We'll see how far they can go. But as far as Coach Drew Knowles is concerned, he's just going to take it one game at a time, and the only team that he's worried about right now is Guntersville. So we'll see what happens Friday night.
That 5A South thing, that's it's crazy to me. I mean, like you said, there's so many tough teams. I think that's obviously the tougher side of the bracket. But Vigor or Briarwood Christian will definitely be gone by the second round at the absolute latest, because they will probably meet in the second round. What a tough draw that is for both teams, and that's going to be a war in that second round if they both win in the first.
Absolutely. Class 6A, you've got Fort Payne. They're going to host Gardendale. Fort Payne 6-4, Gardendale 5-5. You've got Albertville going to Pinson Valley, and then you've got Hartselle 10-0, Jackson Olin 10-0, and then of course Oxford goes to Hazel Green in the first round. There's a number of teams there in that North region. Who survives the North out of 6A? It could be any of those guys, but as far as I'm concerned, I would not be surprised by the end of the second round, these two 10-0 teams, Hartselle and Jackson Olin, I think they're going to be eliminated. And I think really it's Pinson Valley's to lose in terms of the state championship, and quite possibly, just the state championship alone.
This is taking it back to 5A, but Patrick said Etowah has to beat Russellville in the second round, and Russellville's always had Etowah's number.
Very true. You're right, Patrick. They absolutely have, and it seems like they've had their number in just about anything in every sport that they've played. But this is a much different Etowah football team. When you've got a defense like Etowah has, I would really like to see another team in the state of Alabama that has a better defense than Etowah right now.
They're only giving up 6.4 points a game. I mean, those guys are something else on that side of the ball. Elizabeth said she thinks Etowah has what it takes, and Daniel Harper always coming through. He says Etowah will beat Guntersville 42-13. He has a lot of faith in his Blue Devils.
Yes, he does.
And for good reason.
He really does.
He has good reason to have a lot of faith in Etowah, and he has Etowah rolling to a big win Friday night.
Yeah. Then in the biggest classification of the state, you've got Class 7A. They're going to be off this week. They don't get started until next week. You've got Thompson hosting Florence. You've got James Clemens hosting Hewitt Trustful. Austin out of Decatur will be hosting Mountain Brook, and then Hoover hosting Bob Jones. Who do you like coming out of the North?
Are you sure it's showing that they will be playing this weekend?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they take a week off from the semis to the finals, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. All right.
But
My bad.
Obviously in the North, you got to think that Region 3s all playing each other again. I mean,
right.
You have Hoover versus Mountain Brook, and then Hewitt versus Thompson, provided they take care of 7A Region 4, Gadsden City's region.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough to imagine that coming out any differently, in my opinion.
Right.
And then in the South, McGill-Tulin's McGill-Tulin and Central Phoenix City is going to be a fun quarterfinals matchup, but I think Central Phoenix City is going to come out of there. And, I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of take your pick out of that Region 3, really.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
I'd have to go with Hoover. I mean, they do it so much. I mean, how can you go against them? So
yeah.
If I had to pick right now, I'd say Hoover's going to win 7A.
That's a solid pick. I think, Central Phoenix City sitting 10-0 in the South. They may not have played as strong as opponents as, say, Hoover has. 7-3. That's a deceiving record for Hoover. All of those were they lost to IMG out of Florida. They lost to a team out of Georgia. That 7-3. Don't be deceived by that. Hoover's a very good football team. I just don't know whether they are going to represent the North. I just have a feeling that Thompson's going to come out of the North region, and they're going to knock off Hoover there in the semifinals. In terms of the South, I think it's Central's to lose. Jamie DeBose, who used to coach at Prattville and led Prattville to a state championship when he was there, he's got Central playing extremely well. They took care of business and knocked off Auburn, which was in their region, and Auburn's a very good football team. So I really think it's Central's to lose in terms of coming out of the South. So I think it's going to be Central and Thompson for the state championship, and I really feel like Thompson's going to end up winning by maybe a touchdown.
How crazy is it that you're going to have either Thompson or Hewitt definitely gone by the quarterfinals?
Yeah.
Because they'd meet in the quarterfinals provided they both win in the first round. That
yeah.
is nuts to me.
And to be quite honest, Teddy, I would not be surprised to see Hewitt fall in the first round. I think they're going to fall to James Clemens. I really do.
That is I don't know if I can go with that, but I mean James Clemens has had a good football team, but Hewitt's just so loaded offensively. Maybe they could catch them trying to look ahead. I don't know, but I got Hewitt winning that one. I think Region 4 gets swept in the first round.
I think you're going to see Hewitt looking ahead. They're going to be looking ahead to Thompson, and they will have spent all their time looking ahead to that matchup with Thompson, and I think James Clemens sneaks in there, and they're going to come away with a win Friday night.
Patrick has Thompson McGill-Tulin in the finals, and he also said that he don't see Guntersville scoring at all. And then Tony says, go Etowah from Panama City.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Hope everything is well for you down in Panama City. I know that the hurricane really did a number on Panama City, so we hope everybody down there is doing well and continues to recover down there. The second season is creeping up on us quickly. I know we're going to see some rain showers come in here very shortly. we're going to see some slow tracks Friday night. You're going to see some really rain-soaked fields. So, you know, in horse racing, they say who's the best mudder, and so we'll see who the best mudders are Friday night. But in terms of for Etowah County, again, I'm calling it. I'm saying all 5 of our Etowah County teams are going to advance to the second round. So we'll see what happens.
Tony says, how far can Etowah go in the playoffs?
I think they can go as far as Auburn, play for the state championship. Whether they win it or not, we'll see. But again, when you've got a defense as good as they are, I think, you know, as they always say, defense wins championships. And so I would not be surprised when it's all said and done, the first weekend in December, that the Blue Devils come home with a big blue trophy.
You know, they definitely have that big target on their back. They're the only undefeated team in 5A. They're #1 in the state. So everybody's gunning for those guys. I mean, they're definitely looked at as the favorite there. So it's going to be interesting to see. Patrick says upsets. We promise upsets. We've given a few as we've gone along, but
Absolutely.
What are some off the top of your head that you think
will happen? Right off the top, I'm calling James Clemens over Hewitt in the first round in 7A. Another upset that I think I talked about earlier, I see Decatur in Class 6A knocking off Jackson Olin, who's undefeated. I think that's going to be a big upset there. In Class 5A, gosh, I could see Alexandria eliminating Madison Academy in the first round in 5A. 4A, ooh. In Class 4A, ooh, I don't know whether there's going to be a big upset there, but then I could also see Rogers eliminate Jacksonville in the first round. Those are some of my upsets right there, just through the first through 4A. 3A, I could see
Weaver over Westminster Christian for me is one.
I think so. Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Teddy. I think Weaver will knock out Westminster Christian. So you're going to see some of your undefeated teams probably bow out fairly early.
Gardendale, Fort Payne, that's one that I kind of have my eye on. Gardendale's sitting at 5-5. I think Fort Payne's 6-4, but they did win their region. But if you look at Gardendale's schedule, they lost to 5 really good football teams. So I think that's one that, you know, seeding-wise, that definitely could be an upset. And, you know, if you want to go by seeding, Coosa beating Donahoe, that's one that we both picked. And, you know, seeding-wise, that would technically be an upset. So
yeah, I don't think it's an upset, though. I really feel like Coosa, again, just has way too many weapons, and I just don't think Donahoe's going to be able to counter at all. It may be a fairly high-scoring game Friday night, but I still think that you're going to see Coosa move on to the second round.
Tony said also War Eagle grad of 76 and Etowah 72.
Well, I'm a War Eagle grad from 1995, so good to hear from you guys, Tony. Good to hear from the Auburn family. They've got a big game Saturday against Georgia in the Deep South's oldest rivalry. So we'll see how that turns out. But in terms of high school playoffs, they'll get cranked up Friday night, and be sure to come back and join us about 11 o'clock Friday night. We'll come to you on Facebook Live. We'll also have photo galleries, videos, game stories at GadsdenTimes.com. So be sure to join us then. Folks, I'm looking forward to the start of the playoffs. It's like Christmas, just a month early.
Yeah, as long as everything goes as planned, we'll have all 5 games covered, right?
Absolutely.
So I was looking forward to that. I'll be heading over to Anniston to see Coosa play at Donahoe. Looking forward to seeing how they are, and it's just going to be a fun night of football.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for everybody chiming in. We look forward to talking with you on Friday night, and our time is done, and we thank you for yours. Have a good night.